Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BTB Movie Club podcast. My name is Dan Sears. We hope you enjoyed today's movie discussion. Thanks for listening.
This ball a rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BTB Movie Club. We're here to discuss movie number 203. This is Dan's pick. It is Jordan Peele's directorial debut. It is the movie Get Out. This was part of the Kevin Bacon 6 Degrees of Separation theme. And why don't you remind us how you got to Get Out from Animal House?
Are you serious? I don't remember.
All right.
Isn't this an important part of the theme? So
going great.
You can't show your work.
Yeah, but I gave it last week, and that's long gone now. That notes.
Some of us weren't here last week, so if
they missed out.
Matthew, play the clip.
So Donald Sutherland in Animal House, and he was in JFK. And then Joe Pesci was in, it was Lethal Weapon 2. Joaquin Phoenix in Signs with Mel Gibson. Then I went to the Joker. So Joker, it's a full ado with Catherine Keener. And so I'm going off Catherine Keener, and she was in the movie Get Out. So I did the 6 Degrees thing, and it landed on this movie, a psychological horror movie from Jordan Peele. So there really, other than the Kevin Bacon thing, there really is no logic to the pick. I liked it. I mean, I really liked the movie. I was interested though, so I'd just seen it once, knowing the ending and everything, if I would still, like the movie as much. And I did when I watched it yesterday. But I think everybody had seen it. I'm sure Hilty has seen it. No, I don't even have to ask him. But all right, Mr. Aaron, you are up first. What'd you think of Get Out? And you can unmute yourself so we can hear you.
No, I was muted by Tim, is what I was saying.
Sorry about that.
You were not. You are not. Much like you, Dan, I had seen it once before. I remember really enjoying it. Not that I didn't this time. I liked it. With the way things went, I was watching it right up till the last second here, so I did I had to touch fast forward a couple times at what I remembered were maybe not so significant parts. But each time I thought that, I ended up having to rewind it because I was like, "Ooh, I think I just missed something." So I didn't save myself any time by touching fast forward. I don't remember the movie being short. What was it, like a 144 runtime? At least that's what it said at the bottom of my screen. That it did seem to go by really fast this time. I didn't remember that, it feeling short the first time I watched it. But it seemed like it was really fast. Things kept going. I thought there was going to be, the way I was remembering it, some lulls, and just even the parts that I thought were going to be lulls, they weren't as long as I remembered. It was real quick. Pacing was good. Some little things, being the second watch, picked up on the red, white, black motif. Didn't realize it started right at the beginning when he's shaving with his skin and then the shaving cream, and then he cuts himself. And then it's just red, white, black. They throw in some blue every once in a while. And I didn't look up any of Peele's color theory, or even if he had one, or if that's, just what he went with. But I noticed it throughout the movie, just especially at the party, they throw it in your face with all the guests wearing red, white, and black, mostly red and black. But those little things I really enjoyed, kind of watching it with a little more critical eye, kind of like the second watching of The Usual Suspects, or the second watching of Fight Club, something like that. You're just I was at least trying to pick out different things. What are they showing me? And by this point in time, I've watched other people talk about it. I've watched other people's theories, and I've even, some of the Jordan Peele interviews. One that stuck out, and I totally forgot. I thought it was great the way he handled it. I don't know if it was an interviewer or if he was taking calls or if he was just telling the person a story, but the digging in the armchair when he gets the cotton out, somebody made the analogy, and not disrespectful at all, and I'm not trying to be either, but like cotton picking saved his life. And like Jordan Peele, you could tell it wasn't his idea, but he loved it that the person, found that out. He was like, well, now it's my idea, but yeah,
of course I meant that.
So just little things like that. He seems like a cool guy. Both those guys do. I like their, their show when it was on. I haven't seen much of his work since this. I know a lot about the cloning one. I don't know if it's clones or people have copies of themselves. Us. I really do. And that one super, I wasn't super intrigued by it. But the Alien one, I think it might be his latest one. And I know it's quite a few years old at this point. We talked about it last week. I do want to see that. I can't believe I haven't seen that one yet. But as far as this movie, really enjoyed it. Like I said, the pacing was good. It kept me interested, even though I had seen it. I really like the little nuggets, the callbacks. It was really well done. Where hitting the deer kind of set it off, and then him using the deer at the end, in a very similar fashion. The one thing that I did catch, because as I got done watching it, just before I sat down, it started playing again. And it had gotten to the part where they had just hit the deer. And I really thought she was being until that third time of seeing this scene, both times I thought she was just playing her part, standing up for her man, her, black man, and not letting the cop get her, get them down or get anything over on him. On that last time it popped up, I was like, oh, she doesn't want him identified, so they don't have any paper trail that he was there. I never picked that up before.
Me neither.
I took that.
Me neither. That's a good point.
I thought that was really, just cool little nuggets. I'll watch it again, and I'll probably pick up a couple more things, about grandma or the uncle or the process, stuff like that. So I liked it. I'll watch it again. Good pick, Dan. That's, I'll let you guys, I'll jump in while other people are talking.
All right. Let's see here. Next on my screen here is Brian. Fire away, Brian. What'd you think of Get Out?
I'd seen it before. Liked it. It took me, I just kind of watched it. Usually I sit there and take notes and such and kind of try and pick up on things. And this time I was really just started out with that and then just kind of stopped and set the pen down and then just watched it and then kind of wrote some stuff down from memory. I did have Why Black People Have to Pick Cotton written down. Aaron, good call on that one.
Since that came up again, let me ask. I was going to ask when Aaron brought it up, but weren't his arms tied to the chair?
That was my next thing. How did he get in his ears?
Cotton in his ears. Okay.
That one
he bent over a couple times, tried to get the straps off with his mouth, and he was trying to bite them off.
Okay. He brought his ears to the hands. Okay.
There are a couple things that if they don't come up, we'll talk about them at the end,
Okay.
And that was one of them too, which I had the same question Tim did.
It's why'd they use the same TV from the TV show Lost? No, it was kind of a weird, good movie. I believe it was Jordan Peele's first adventure into directing, or the first thing that he got noted for. Did a really nice job. The family was just twisted. Bradley Whitford was just an ass, the whole time. And the brother was just weird.
Unbearable. Yeah.
It was like, hey, do MMA and I'm going to choke you out. And he's like, I don't wrestle in front of people. And I mean, it was just just most awkward dinner, one of the most awkward dinners. It was kind of what was the old Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? It was kind of that, but just with a twist, a horror twist. And then I kind of got a Stepford Wives meets Roots kind of vibe. So instead of brainwashing the women, they were transferring brains into African American people. It was quite the ride. So the TS motherfucking A. I mean that guy was great. I liked him in the Ryan Reynolds one where he was the video game guy. Oh,
Free
man.
Guy. Free Guy.
Yeah, Free Guy. Yeah, he was great in Free Guy also. Even better in Free Guy, actually. But no, it was a good pick. Had seen it before and didn't mind watching it again. I did. We watched Us already, like we said. It was very well, good job. I don't mind watching it. I don't like horror movies at all. I always say, want to see a horror movie, I'll watch my second wedding video. So, these ones, I don't mind, like the Saw ones. I don't mind these movies. So good pick, Dan.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't like the slasher type movies either. It's just kind of mindless killing going on. But yeah, Rod was the name of the TSA guy who was a comic relief kind of in the movie. All right.
Brian, you talked about the dad and the son being, creepy or whatever. I thought the mom, and the only thing I could place her from was 40-Year-Old Virgin. I don't know if she's done more than that, but the huge role in that. She creeped me out the worst. Like, she seemed sinister from the start, from when they pulled up and she was on the porch. So, like, the dad, right up until the auction, I thought he was just a goofy dad. But like the mom, even the first time I watched it, I was like, she's up to no good. I thought maybe she was being, kidnapped or held against her will or knew something. I didn't know like she was the main villain.
Yeah, and I mean Rose too. I mean the whole family was fucked, but Rose, bringing all the people, and then like the even more aha was she even brought the girl. It's it's like this guy, oh, let's throw a girl in there too. So
yeah, did she just befriend her, or did she, was she bisexual? And
I went lesbo. I went for the girl on girl action in my head. So she slept with her grandpa and grandma at some point.
All right, on that note, we'll move on to the other Larson in the group, Tim.
All right. I like this a lot. One common complaint is like Hollywood's out of ideas, right? And when Jordan Peele came up with this stuff, I thought it was pretty cool. Like, it's a little different take on traditional horror movies. And anybody who can take a genre and put an original spin on it at this point, I think is doing a good job and deserves some accolades. When we're redoing Footloose, we're getting to the bottom of the barrel. You know what I mean? And so
did they redo Footloose?
Yeah.
Did they really?
Yeah.
And why would it be the bottom of the barrel to redo it?
It's
bottom of the barrel of ideas
music.
is what I'm saying.
It's
so
country music version of Footloose. And also, Tim, what do you have against Footloose? What's wrong with Footloose?
I love Footloose.
I agree with it doesn't sound like you do.
Would you guys shut the fuck up and let me talk about the movie, for God's sake? What a bunch of bitches in this group. Jesus.
Wait a minute.
Whoa, whoa.
In your movie, The Way Back that you picked, they talk about Footloose having a remake.
He
says,
Dan.
anybody?
That was way
movie.
back. I don't remember.
I said
way back.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Tim. I'm sorry.
Is that how we connect it?
What
No, I connected
everybody's
with Catherine Keener.
panties are in such a bunch right here. Anyway, I like the fucking movie. I like it's an original take on a horror movie. Um, Acting, I think, is fantastic. The creepiest person for me, Aaron's talking about what's her name? Catherine Keener. That Georgina lady, the who's the grandma. Every scene she's in is just wonderfully creepy. Just keeps you right on edge. So I watched this from start to finish and never looked away. Kind of like Brian said, I wasn't writing anything. I was just kind of enjoying the show. I forgot that Rose was a bad person as I was watching it the second time around, or didn't really think. I think I was just enjoying the movie. And then right when we were getting into it, I was like, oh, that's right. That's right. She's the reason you're here in the first place. So the one thing that I was watching this time, that there's that little closet door that's open. Weird that it's so tiny, right? That's just not explained, and just this tiny little creepy door. That they would have all those pictures accessible in the bedroom where he's staying.
Did she leave that door open on purpose?
Well, that's what it seems like. It seems like they're there for you to get some kind of a hint that something's going on, but they never really close that loop. He finds that out, and then maybe it doesn't matter because at that point, by the time he goes downstairs, it's over anyway. Like he's already caught in the trap, you know? Like as we're watching it, you don't feel like he's caught in the trap. But once you get down the stairs, you find out that it already is. So maybe it doesn't matter. But that was just an odd thing for me. Like as I'm like, why would they leave this out if they're trying to hide stuff, you know? So anyway, um, I looked up a bunch of stuff about the like what Jordan Peele was sort of intending. He had an alternate ending when they first did the movie, where what happens is the police show up and catch him choking Rose and arrest him. And the TSA guy comes and gets him at the police station after they figure stuff out. And he was kind of going for a commentary on the police brutality stuff that was going on. And during production, some of the higher profile cases that made national, international news, whatever, came out, like the George Floyd and this kind of stuff. And as a result, he changed how he wanted the movie to come across. Now he doesn't really say why, but I'm just guessing like, okay, that story has made national news. Now my movie is just going to look like I was just following the news kind of thing. Like maybe it's not that original of a thought. And also when they had the first testing, the test screen, it was sort of decided that it should have a happier ending rather than such a hit you over the head with, the societal issue kind of a thing. So they went with this with a little more humor at the end of it. I agree that guy is funny and he's good comic relief. The music is pretty cool and creepy. Peele wanted just basically some kind of music rooted in African American music or African music, but what he found was all of that stuff has like a positive message, like it's like we will overcome, we believe, and he's like, that's not really what I'm going for. So they kind of had to write some music to go with it, and they used some Swahili like phrases and chants, stuff like that, and a little bit of old blues stuff. I thought it was a really good setting. I thought the music was great in this. And then yeah, his themes. Now this is just his take on what he was doing with his movie, was that he wanted to include white people who were the bad people in a racist movie who did not look conservative. They looked liberal. And so the point was the dangers of liberal people also contributing to the problems of racism. And so I thought that was a really intelligent take too, because that makes the take on this more original than just, some kind of Confederate flag redneck somebody being the bad guy. You have a different sort of a feel on it. So I like what he did. A lot of intelligent moves here, and this thing made tons of money. Budget 4.5 million, box office 255 million. So Peele's doing all right, I think, by making this movie, and you can see why he's got a couple more on the books at this point. So really, really good pick, Dan. Saw it before, and I went to rent it because I didn't want to watch commercials. And on Prime, it was like $3.99 to rent it and $7.49 to buy it. So I'm now the owner on my stuff of Jordan Peele's Get Out.
All right.
It's got to be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I'll
a
watch it
common
again for sure.
Yeah.
That's a common thing in especially in older houses that have like an attic bedroom. You'll have a small like storage space just below the roof of the house,
Kind
and
of
it's
like a
like
side attic.
yeah, it's like a short door, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of common, and especially in older houses. But all right, okay, well, thanks there, Tim.
Hmm.
So next up we've got Matt Smith.
All right. This is the second time I've seen this. Great movie. I love this movie. I love the tone that Jordan Peele sets like right away with the guy being abducted in the neighborhood, and then it kind of flips to this like country, or I guess it's not country, it's upstate New York, but and the music, the Swahili singers and stuff, I thought that was really cool. Acting's great. I I am a fan of Bradley
Whitford.
Whitford. Sorry, I don't know why I couldn't think of his name. And to Tim's point, he actually Jordan Peele was like, I liked you on West Wing. So he wanted this whole family. I think Tim just said this, but he wanted this whole family to be, the liberal white sort of vision of America. And I thought that was good. Good stuff. Yeah, I love the tone. I love that the first viewing, I didn't forget that Rose was evil and bad. But it is a little tough at first to be like, oh, she's the bad guy here. Like it does take you until you get to a certain point. You're like, oh yeah, she's actually just evil. Even the second time through, it took me a little while to remember that she was the evil one too. Um, yeah, just an interesting like science fiction-y horror thing. I don't like horror movies either. I don't like jump scares. I don't like that just doesn't appeal to me as a movie watcher. But this was done really well. This was more like thriller suspense type stuff. Um the the scene where they're doing the bingo cards, they're auctioning him off basically, right? The silence during that I thought was really well done. Um and
You know what that was from? They used to when they used to sell slaves, that's what they had. They had silent auctions.
I did not
Oh.
know that. Did not know that. Yeah, so a couple other things. My favorite quote in the movie is actually, and I didn't catch it the first time, it took me a second watching, is when he's explaining how his dad lost to Jesse Owens. And he goes, yeah, he almost got over it. And that's probably one of my favorite quotes in the movie, because now that after you've seen it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, because his father is the one who kind of helped come up with this weird procedure or whatever. So Jordan Peele talks a lot about just like the black experience, and I think the actor Daniel, I can't say his last name,
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I think he does a really good job, like when the cops ask him for the ID, and he's like, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Like I think that's probably a lot of experience for people is, yeah, it's fine. I'm just going to do this because I don't want to cause a scene. I don't want to get in trouble. Stuff like that is, I'm sure, happens daily for people.
Unless you're Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, unless you're Tyreek Hill. It's a little different, I guess. But even to the point where the actor said he went back to London after this movie came out and like got a hug on the street from some black woman because it was like this like portrayal of the black experience in the world. So no, yeah, this is a movie I would maybe I watched it free because I watched it on TBS something on demand. But yeah, I would purchase this movie too for sure. It's a great movie, even when you know what's going to happen. Just everything. I didn't notice. I read this. I did not come up with this on my own. The silver spoon in the teacup was significant. Privilege and things like that. I didn't really catch catch that. Did we watched Capote in this group, right? Did we watch
Yes.
Capote? That's the other thing she's from. that we watched. She played Harper Lee
Oh, that's
in
right.
that movie. Yeah. I had to look that up too. I didn't remember, but I just saw it and I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah, no, cast is great. Writing is tremendous. I hope Jordan Peele continues to just write more things because he's really good at it. He became
He won an
I saw
Oscar for this,
something.
right? For the
Yeah,
script.
he won an Oscar for writing, and in the same year he won for producing and something else. I think I had it before. I think I closed the tab, but just crazy amounts of awards. So anyway, um, yeah, great movie. Um, I wish you remembered the connection. I'm pretty sure it was either Catherine Keener or Allison Williams, but we'll figure it out later.
It was Catherine Keener in the new Joker movie. She's in
Oh,
that.
that's right. That's right. That's right.
But then going back before that, I don't know. So Donald Sutherland in Animal House, and he was in JFK. Then Joe Pesci was in, it was Lethal Weapon 2. Joaquin Phoenix in Signs with Mel Gibson. Then I went to the Joker. So Joker, it's a full ado with Catherine Keener.
So, and Stephen Root being the guy who actually gets it, I think is funny. I like that guy. And yeah, it was just humorous to me. Yeah, it's a great movie. You guys said it most of what I already would have thought anyway. So, good pick. Would watch it again. Good job, Jordan Peele. I hope he keeps doing stuff. I've seen Us. I've seen this. I have not seen what's
Nope.
this? Nope.
Nope.
I've not seen that yet. So, um, should probably see it since I like these other
Yeah,
two.
agree with Aaron. It does look really good. That's something we should definitely watch.
All right. Okay. Yeah, this movie won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay.
Maybe I'm picking it.
6 Degrees. Okay.
You gotta do a circle.
Okay. That leaves us with Hilty. You are up.
I mean, a lot of the stuff has already been said, which is good because there's a lot of layer and complexity with this movie, which kind of makes it a little bit unique from a lot of other horror movies out there. Even though horror is a little bit more known for having a lot more social commentary than people give it credit for. But of course, that's why we watch horror movies, right? The social commentary, not the slashing, not the murder, not the being scared or anything like that. So,
Boobs.
oh, can't forget about that. Gratuitous boobs or gratuitous tits, of course. But let's see what else. So, one thing that I love about this movie a lot is that kind of what piggybacking off what Tim said is that um since this has so much social commentary and everything like that, this causes people to think about this in unique perspectives. And if you haven't checked out some of the fan theories about this movie, they are fantastic. And um, not to say that other movies don't have fan theories, but some of these are great. So, like for example, one fan theory is that this is all in Rod's head, the TSA agent, the whole time, since he's the quote unquote hero at the end coming in to save the day, and he's the one that's doing the investigation. This is all going on in his head the way that he wants it to go. And that ending wouldn't have been the same had they done the other ending that was talked about, which, you know, yeah, that ending would have made sense, but you're right, it would have just smacked us all over the head. It's like, yes, we get it. Police don't always have the greatest track record when it comes to, black people. But, some of the fan theories that have come out about this are really great. There's a 10-minute video on Vanity Fair YouTube page that I found. So I encourage everyone to check it out because Jordan Peele goes through a lot of them. Is like, yep, that was intentional. Nope, didn't even think about that, but
Oh, that's great.
cool. So for example, there was a scene where the at the airport when Rod was on the phone and they say Flight 237, and 237 is like significant in horror because that's the room in The Shining where nobody wants to go into, and Jordan Peele was like, "Yep, that was intentional because he uses Kubrick as inspiration for a lot of what he thinks about when it comes to horror." Um, he said that it was no accident that everybody at the party comes in a black car. It was like that wasn't an accident. That just something that just just happens. It just makes sense that for that. The symbolism of the deer at the beginning, that's a big deal. But then a lot of people have theorized that that same deer is also looking at Chris at the end and is like, well, you watch me die, now I'm gonna watch you die and figure this out. The conversation at the uh, at the dinner table about jujitsu versus whatever, like the brother is like, you should do this because it's like chess, you think 3 steps ahead. Well, when they're fighting at the end, he waits three until the third time where he kicks the door shut to stab him in the leg because he's thinking 3 steps ahead for stuff like that. So little things like that is what makes this really good. I encourage anybody that if they like this, go see us, go see Nope, because I really like Nope. Um, Nope was one of the coolest things to watch in theaters over the last couple of years. So I highly encourage everyone to watch Nope. I didn't even give a plug to Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone reboot. It's not great. It's not the same, but you see a lot of the things that he's going for in all of his movies in the Twilight Zone because it's like tailor made for what he wants to do. So that's definitely a plus. I think it's criminal that this movie didn't get more Oscars, but that just goes to show that Oscars are super subjective because this lost to The Shape of Water, which of course, but horror is typically criminally underrepresented at the Oscars. So the fact that he won Best Original Screenplay, number one, that was well deserved, and number two, that's the first time that that a black person, like man or woman, won Best Original Screenplay at the Oscars, and just again goes to show that some of the stuff that he's saying probably has some merit to it. Let's see.
Hey, while
Talked
you're thinking
about
there, here's a little tidbit about the Shining. In the book, the room isn't 237, it's 217. And they changed it because at the hotel they used for the overlook, it actually has a room 217. It doesn't have a room 237. And they didn't want that room to be used in the movie because nobody would want to stay in it and they'd never be able to rent the room out. So Kubrick changed it just for that reason. Fun little tidbit.
and the last thing that I'll say is that both Jordan Peele and Keegan Michael Key are in this movie. Key is in this. He is one of the NCAA athletes that Rose is looking through. It's like, of course he is. And then Jordan Peele has two speaking moments in this. The first instance, he has a speaking moment, or yeah, that he's got a voiceover for something that Chris is watching on TV. So you hear his voice briefly, but he also does the voice of the dying deer. He makes the noise for the dying
deer. I did
deer.
read that. That's hilarious.
So yeah, Dan, great pick. Love this movie. It's easily one of the best, not just horror movies, just best movies over the since it came out. Like it's been 7 years or so since it came out. So great pick. Glad everyone liked it. Highly encourage people because something that's said is that Hollywood's running out of ideas. Well, the problem is that when there are original ideas, nobody goes to see them though. So, this is a good example.
Shame.
So, goes to show that original movies, there is still a market for people who want original ideas out of Hollywood, but the problem is most of the time is that these original ideas don't ever make money. So, support those original ideas and such. And that's all.
All right. Glad you liked it.
Was Kay Key, was he like Dingle McCringleberries on the
Dingle McCringleberries. Yeah, that's him. I don't know if he had a name next to him, but
damn it.
Hingle McCringleberry, usually one of my fantasy sports team names. I usually pick a name from that East and West Bowl sketch. So this year it's Le Carpatron Duc Merrier and something else. But yeah, I was trying to do that.
All right. Okay, glad you liked it. Mr. Weldon's here. Welcome.
How's it going?
Great.
Good, thanks for asking. Oh, you weren't talking to me.
He was talking to everybody, I think. Okay.
Yeah.
So Mike, are you in the US of A, Mike?
I am back, and we just finished a birthday party for my dad's 75th birthday, which is actually in 2 days. And so we just put him to bed, and I'm hanging out in their office, joining as soon as I could. So
okay. Well, you joined just in time because everybody has spoke, and now you are up on what you thought of Get Out.
It works out well. Watched this for the second time last night, and I think this is one of the best horror movies that's out there. Partially because it's very different. This isn't slasher or gore or anything. This is very much a psychological thing. And where a lot of horror movies will get you on, the jump scares or just that kind of stuff. This isn't even like I wouldn't even say scary so much as just very uneasy. You're just on edge the whole time. And there are a lot of very creepy elements to it, but it just keeps you engaged, but it's just such an uneasy feeling. And I'm sure people have probably said all these things already, but the thing that stuck out to me the most, especially on the second rewatch, immediately was the sound, the music, and every song that was chosen was appropriate. That one that plays at the beginning and right at the end credits, just that song by itself is super creepy, just with the different tones that they have. But I mean, anytime anything would happen, the groundskeeper's sprinting at him suddenly and then turns, and you have the build up of the violins, and then suddenly he turns. It just keeps you on edge, but not necessarily jump scare. You know what I mean? It's just a psychological thing where it's just the entire time it just, oh man. And I think that's what's just so what's so genius about this movie as far as being a horror movie. I love the fact that this is Jordan Peele's kind of debut in the whole thing. I think part of the appeal of this was the fact that everybody said, hey, Jordan Peele, that comedian, made a horror movie and it's actually really good. But take that out of it and it's still it's fantastic. And I did see Us in the theaters. I'm not gonna say, I wouldn't say it was as good as Get Out, but I still enjoyed it. But he definitely has a style. And yeah, I just thought it was fantastic. I kind of heard Hilty talking about this when I just got on here, but I know he does address the racism pretty well too. I mean, with when just for example, at the beginning, the girlfriend's like, oh, my dad's fine. He would have voted for Obama for a third term. You're kind of a third term or whatever. It's like, oh, it seems like his dad's going to be fine with him. But then when his dad pulls him aside and says, hey, I would have voted for Obama for a third term, he's saying this is your president because you were black, and I'm acknowledging this like out loud. It was just one of those things where it's like, yeah, they're doing all this, the brain surgery things on black people, and that's obviously insane.
That
But
that
this
line
isn't
almost
like a
seems sorry. That line almost seems rehearsed. Like they said that to all
right.
the black people they brought there.
Yeah. And but it's not like this movie isn't just like a slasher where it's like, oh, it's some killer that's just trying to kill black people. It's not like some simple thing. Obviously, there is that element to it with the surgery and whatever, but like I just the way they build up to it, Jordan Peele really addresses all the little, like the Obama third term thing, and just talking about like the physical stature of all these people. It's just all the little things where there are times where like one of the family will say something, and when you're watching this from Chris's point of view, you just want to go like, what the fuck, man? Like, how do and I feel like Jordan Peele does a great job of like portraying that part of it. It's not the overt, these guys aren't all in a bunch of hoods and burning crosses and say, hey, come here, N-word, we're gonna murder you. It's the more subtle stuff. And clearly Jordan Peele has been through that like any other black man has, but he did a very good job of portraying it in this movie. Yeah, I mean, I think that was I love some of just the very creative aspects to this too. The creepiness of like Rose, like just staring blankly as she's on the phone and doing all the voice acting, but just completely, emotionless in the face. Or when she's sitting there and like, eating a single Fruit Loop at a time and drinking milk while she's, looking up her next potential victim. And it's just, man, even the teacup was it's just so, but then that all comes back full circle to the sound. I think more than anything, the sound is just phenomenal as far as creating an environment and just an aura of just being haunted, you know? Um, I guess that's most of it. It's good to be back. It's good to be back home in the States, and it's good to be back in the group, even if I'm only here for a few minutes tonight.
All right. Yeah, you said about the Fruit Loops. Jordan Peele said that that's the second most psychotic thing he could think of her to do, to eat Fruit Loops and drink milk separately. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So it was discussed, Rose. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, just as a follow-up, I'm just thinking this out loud while Mike's talking. I I certainly get why Jordan Peele like made this movie and had black characters the way they were represented. But does the plot make sense why they were picking black people? Like I read something in research on the movie that was like one of his commentaries was that black people only make up like 11% of the population, but something like 35% of missing persons in America are black. And like, we don't really try that hard to find them as opposed to if some young girl is missing. Right. So he put that stat out there and that was kind of his motivation for making this movie. But does the plot make sense that these people are picking just black people other than the grandpa saying the Jesse Owens thing?
I would
think
say
so.
yes. I would say
Yeah.
yes.
To me, it like I think that goes further on what I was talking about as far as the theme is acknowledging those again, not the overt things, but just kind of the subtle things. One, they're all kind of talking about well, you have all these physical gifts and everything because you're black, and and they're just saying it like it's it's fact. It's because you're black, and like hearing those things as a black person, I'm sure is just like ugh. But also you could look at it in a way of like, well, they're doing this to black people because they're disposable. They don't want to do it to some white person because they'd be taking away their life. But the black person's life doesn't really matter, but they're just a vessel with, a nice healthy body or whatever. And but so I think it makes a lot of sense from that perspective. And as far as Jordan Peele's probable message, I'm assuming I think it goes a little even further to
Oh
to
yeah,
drive
that
them home.
I mean that
Well,
makes perfect sense. Go ahead, Hilton. Sorry.
It's also kind of representative of Lakeith Stanfield's character in this. If you look at to your point, Lakeith Stanfield's character, the Andre character,
Oh,
he's been missing for 6 months, and
right.
everyone's just like, whatever. So
No problem.
Mhm.
it makes sense for
Oh, so
them
it's
to
a
do that.
logical choice. You're saying it's just a logical choice for
Yeah, that
The
too.
movie
and
for the
okay.
movie, but it's piggybacking off the point that you were trying to make is that if this were white women being just disappearing, this would be national news. But since it's black men, it's not. So they can keep doing this under the guise of, black men or just black people in general are not investigated the same way if they go missing versus, white people, specifically white women. And then the other thing too is that there was that one guy at the party that said being black is fashionable right now. And that's kind of like another thing that's like it's so cringe inducing.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's just like, oh, this is so uncomfortable to hear, but that's probably another reason why. Like, do you think this group at some point or another has gone through kind of like an evolution of different groups based on what's like trending and what's in? Like, I don't know. And maybe at this time it's just black people who are quote unquote trending because it's fashionable, like that one guy said. I'd be interested to hear what Jordan Peele thought about that, but I highly doubt that it would go that far. But you know, for this particular movie, this group picking black people feels strategic and necessary for the
Okay.
for
Yeah.
for them and
For
And we're never
several
told.
reasons, yeah.
We're never told if it's part of the process. Like we're
Right.
we're told in the video that the son or the daughter, one of them figured it out, the surgeon or the therapist or them together, but unlock the key to the coagula process. Maybe it only works with black people, or whatever. My thing was where I got it from. It was another use. It was white people making use of black people once again.
Yeah.
I thought that was the basic commentary on it.
Mhm.
I never thought of the take of missing peoples and not really looking for them and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that would just make it easier.
Oh, and the thing
But
thing about her not wanting the cop to see the ID, it never even occurred to me that that's why she didn't want him to see the ID, but that makes perfect sense with this whole conversation.
I
If
gotta be honest with
if
you, but I've seen this once before. On the second watch through, I couldn't remember. I was like, I know the daughter isn't helpful, like the girlfriend isn't helpful, but does she just I couldn't remember her role until part of the way through, and then I went, oh no, she's like one of the main villains.
Mhm.
Yep.
I
did the same
can't
thing,
give you
Mike.
keys.
Yeah.
You know damn well. Yeah, because if you if you watch this the first time, yeah, there's a lot of things that happen where it's like, okay, she's really trying to help him out. You watch it the second time and you're like looking back at all this stuff, it's like, no, you're just
She's like the worst
leaving.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's evil.
Yeah.
She's leading the breadcrumbs directly to all of this. She is an integral part to this whole thing. So
Yep. Yeah, and
But-
she changes immediately as soon as she says, "I don't have the keys."
Yeah,
And
as
her
soon as the
whole
game's up, like,
Yep.
I can't give these to you. Like, oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's like my part in
I
this
d-
is done. So,
I did
brother,
like-
beat the shit out of him. You guys do the surgery. I'll be up on the computer eating Fruit Loops and looking up the next guy. My part's done.
I did like you just as much, or I did like you better than the others. Like, ugh.
Yeah, you were my
Oh
favorite
yeah,
one.
that's
Yeah.
so touching.
Yeah.
You were my favorite.
Also-
That's really touching.
Of
On that
course,
part
until
too-
when she's almost getting killed, where she changes again and says, "I love you."
She's a psychopath.
So by the way, great acting by I forget the actor that plays Chris, but great acting there. Just his expression when she reveals, just pulls the keys out, like makes that change. I can't give these to you, right?
and he immediately hits him like, "Oh, I'm fucked," and he just kind of goes like, like he doesn't say anything, but just that look on his face. It isn't necessarily terror right away, but just that realization of like, oh man, just
It's 4 against 1 now.
yeah, like it's a little thing, but I really enjoyed that a lot.
Well, he had a shot 4-on-1. He couldn't beat the teacup.
Yeah.
All right, so one thing that was discussed was, you know, Rose's method for seducing people to come there. But what about Jeremy's method? He called it wrangling people.
He's the one who
That-
choked out Andre.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because he when Chris gets into the car at the end, it's Jeremy's car, and then there's the helmet, the knight's helmet sitting there that he used at the beginning.
Right.
I've read a couple things about that is like a commentary of like not so much like chivalry, but it's supposed to kind of like be a subversion of like what like Knights of the Round Table and what knights are supposed to be, which is like noble, chivalrous, true, and how a knight in shining armor, you know, turns into this just villainous person, kind of similar to what like Gawain and the Green Knight is trying to say about knighthood, where it's like you guys say that you're all chivalrous and things like that, but you're not. You can't be that 100% of the time. So, you know, should anybody be a knight at that point? But there's a lot of interesting commentary and like parallels about you know, knighthood and things like that Jordan Peele kind of sprinkle in there. It's not as overt as some of the other stuff, but it's out there too.
Well, from the Seventh Seal, we know. I don't think the guy was the knight because he was the squire, maybe, and like the girl should have been happy he didn't rape her, you know. So yeah, they weren't the greatest.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah. Chivalrous indeed.
So a couple other little things, you know, little Easter eggs and things. When Rose changes, she always has her hair down. But then when she really reveals, you know, herself from the rest of the movie on, she has her hair up in a bun. That was like to signify that she had changed and she was showing her true nature, so to speak.
Mask is off, hair is out of the face, whatever.
Yep.
Mhm.
Kind
what
of
are we
opposite
talking?
of the movies when the nerdy girl takes her hair down and
Yeah.
becomes the
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And I saw something with Jordan Peele, and he said that the scene at the beginning when she's holding Chris's dog, and then she says, "I gotta pry something out from Chris," you know, and she puts dog down and goes and talks to him. She was referring to his brain. We're gonna be prying your brain out at some point here.
Okay. All right.
Um,
How have we gotten this far through this conversation without anybody saying the term Easter egg? That's something. Usually somebody is all over that.
Well, I was going to bring up, is this like seriously though, the difference between a horror and a thriller? We haven't talked about thrillers in a while.
Yeah.
To me, this is a thriller. I don't know if this makes it into the horror category for me.
To me, this is creepy enough that it's a horror. Okay, it's I throw this term as kind of cheating, but I'd almost call it suspense because you can you can attribute that to a thriller or a horror movie. You know what I mean? Like that's.
I agree.
mean,
I found it to be more suspenseful, but the end kind of makes it a horror movie to me when they're cutting people's heads open and we're beating people, we're kicking people's faces in and things like that. I think that's what kind of turned it towards the end of the movie.
Yeah, but
Well,
they do
okay,
that in Lethal
but to
Weapon
be-
too. So
To be fair, from the perspective of Chris, this is 100% a horror movie.
True.
Like put yourself in his shoes. That's all terrifying.
Which is like the whole point of the movie is to be in
Right.
his shoes.
Yeah. So the term psychological thriller is used a lot, right? Horror and psychological thriller kind of get used in the same conversation. And I would lean more towards psychological thriller for this than straight up horror, but I think they're somewhat interchangeable. But you can kind
agree.
of tell the difference between them, right?
I can't, obviously.
No,
I think it works for both.
just because.
Yeah, you're
I
my
don't know.
cuz, all right.
I don't know if anybody said this. I don't think anybody talked about this yet. Did you see the connection to Eddie Murphy? He wanted Eddie Murphy to be this main character,
Really?
but he was too old. But he also thought about this when watching Eddie Murphy's material about black people in horror movies, about how they would never get, only white people are stupid enough to blah blah blah, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and that's
The black people would be like, get out.
Yeah, get out. You got like
It's-
people yelling at the people on the screen, like, get out. Like, why would you be here?
It's in Delirious.
Delirious. Yeah.
I did read about that as well.
Oh, and Brian, you brought up Stepford Wives. That was one of his inspirations for this. He did say that that was one of the things that kind of started the story in his head.
And I agree that this is a unique telling of a tale. But Brian did a good job. Like you pointed out 4 or 5.
Oh, you did it now.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I did it on purpose just to see where it would go, and it that wasn't even a second.
It did not take long.
Nope.
But props where props is due. 4 or 5 different movies. So obviously he got inspiration and paid homage or homage to lots of different Kubrick was brought up and stuff like that. So yes, it's a completely new telling. There's nothing exactly like it, but there was definitely touches of great other works in there, which all newer works or whatever, unless you're Beowulf, everything has something else in it as an inspiration.
I was gonna say that's all works. That's just throughout human history. Like even
right.
I mean, the ancient Romans took stuff from the Greeks. Like it's just.
We get it. You were in Europe a month ago. Jesus Christ.
Have you seen the Venus de Milo? Breathtaking.
All right, just a couple other things I have here. Rose's death was the same as Chris's mom. She was just left there to lay in the road and die the same way Chris's mom did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which almost screwed him up.
That was a car
That's why he
accident.
had to.
No, that was the
Yeah, she was hit by a car.
A hit and run.
Yeah, Rose was shot, but that's why he picked up the grandma.
And choked.
He went
choked
back for
a little.
grandma. A little light choking.
A little choking.
Little choke.
Like
choky
Yeah,
choke.
that wasn't why. That wasn't discussed. Why did he stop choking her? Why
Because he's
didn't
not
he
a
finish
murderer.
Well, and
That's when the
she
car
said
pulled
that.
up, isn't it?
Oh wait, he already killed
Well,
her dad.
she also said that
and the brother.
she loved him and everything like that, and that
He
got
boot stomped
that got
that
him.
motherfucker.
Sorry, guilty.
I apologize.
No,
I'm gonna mute myself.
Wasn't he
Don't
still?
be- it's okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't he still choking her when the car pulled up? When the TSA guy pulled up? Isn't that why he backed off?
No, he just
No.
stopped.
Oh, he just stopped.
He
Okay.
stopped.
He stopped
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
It stopped a few seconds before the lights shined
Yes,
on him.
Tim, you are wrong.
Yeah. No, I got that. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, you asked us to correct you if you were wrong. I'm
Yeah.
just following directions.
Yeah, just cuss.
Just
Just cause.
And last thing I've got, after Chris went to the basement and was tied up, then when the next time they showed Rose in the bedroom, she had put all those pictures up over her bed as trophies or whatever, because she could bring them out now that he was
every picture was like
incapacitated.
in a frame and stuff, which is
Straight psychopath. Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
trophies.
Yep.
Well, I read somewhere that people were actually thinking she was hypnotized, like she was part of the hypnotized, and the actress actually said, no, she's just evil. Like it's okay for her to just be the bad guy. Like,
We don't want her to.
Yeah.
There's
So
there's
pretty.
actually a thought that not only she but the brother was also hypnotized as well. So, but I don't, because if that's the case, like I don't know. I think the story loses some of its appeal because that just, with Rose being actually like in on it and kind of just part of it, it makes it a lot more
Oh, yeah.
scary.
Yeah, and it doesn't
terrifying.
it doesn't mean they're not brainwashed from a young age. Like
They were just
obvious-
raised that
Yeah.
way.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they're
you know,
indoctrinated into
right.
this.
This is their life. Like this is just all they know, but it doesn't mean they
even-
were hypnotized.
Even brainwashed, you're making the choice to still go along. Hypnotized, you don't have any choice.
Right, exactly.
Were you guys all first time you watched it? Were you guys all completely duped by the girl?
Yes.
Right, there were no
Yes.
signs
Oh,
out there.
yes.
You're completely duped right until the keys.
Yep.
Thinking back on
It
it,
was suspicious when she kept on not being able to find them.
Yeah.
I remember the first
Right.
time, and
Feels like that dragged on way too
Right.
long.
yeah.
but again, well, you weren't.
And it
Again,
was
at that point, the
building,
trap's already been sprung.
and it was
so-
building that suspense. It was,
Yeah.
And after the 30 seconds of that, it's revealed. So you didn't really, they didn't really
Yeah.
throw you there.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
the keys.
The second time walking through when she started look like I think it was just before that scene where I remembered when oh shit, I forgot she's in on it. Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
it didn't yeah.
Yeah, she does a great job. The actress is
No, like-
fantastic in this.
throughout this viewing, I never forgot like how evil she was, and it made the scenes leading up to it worse.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like how fucking psycho are you? I mean, because she was selling it. Like she was not only a good actor for us, but she was a great actor for him.
Yep.
I don't know.
Well, where I was going with that
Who
is
wouldn't
that
have fell
like
for it?
the brother shows up and he's so weird. Like, I mean, he's so weird, and she's comes across as so normal, and it's off-putting. Like, how could these two siblings be so different? And it's almost like that's supposed to be a giveaway. Hey, they're not
Yeah.
different. They're both psycho. You just haven't recognized it yet. You know what I mean? Like that was probably supposed to be
different psycho talents.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he reminded me of the brother in Wedding Crashers. Almost the whole family.
Todd. I'm keeping the
they had
pain,
a
Todd.
psycho sister, but there was the really cool normal sister, and then the really weird brother.
I think that was, they're two different roles. He was the one that went out and, beat up people and abducted them, and she was the one that just did it with charm.
Yeah,
It's like
different
he
psycho
couldn't control it. He was just, outwardly hostile, and that's just the way he was.
You know that mom had another sound for both of those kids, though, other than the teacup. If she needed to control the other kids, she, I don't know, kicks a door or something, and they just completely fall
Right.
down.
That would mean they were hypnotized.
Yeah.
What a
sure
way
they
to
were
go to
not-
bed at night.
Not necessarily for the point of this is why you're going to act this way, but as a control mechanism for other things along the way, I'm sure they were.
Well, the other thing is like, I guess hypnotized is one thing. Hypnotized just puts you in the sunken place. It doesn't like mind control you into like, like physically making you do stuff other than just paralyzing you, at least as this movie portrays it. The people that were hypnotized before that were doing stuff were possessed already by people. They had the minds that were put into their bodies already. Like Rose and the brother don't have the scars or whatever from the surgery, because like the groundskeeper and the maid and everything, they've already been taken over by somebody else. That's why they can't control, like that's why they're doing whatever they're kind of told, because they're kind of members of the family or whatever, and they're in on it. But it's not like when she like taps the teacup, suddenly she can just make Chris just stab himself. All she can do is kind of throw him down into the sunken place, and then he's paralyzed and he can't do anything about it.
Well, I mean, she made him not want to smoke anymore. I mean, there's that. But what I mean is like the brother, if you've got that rabid dog in your house and at any time, if he lost his shit, he could beat the shit out of you, you would want a noise that you could just send him to the sunken place and have a timeout. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not
But
gonna lie.
I'm just trying to back up the idea of like they could have been hypnotized, but not in the way of like, oh, well, they were being forced to do this.
Correct.
Like, no, they were.
Correct.
Yeah,
That's
you-
not what
they
I'm
were
saying at all.
absolutely
You
right.
both can be right.
The the amount of hits that the brother takes, I found it like how on earth can you come back up from something like that?
That was like the one
Yeah.
horror movie trope I think they threw in there. Like
Right.
this guy got pounded into the ground and somehow got up. Like that's the one movie trope I feel like they went with.
Because apparently, Chris kicking the crap out of him the way that he did is more powerful than being hit by what I assume is like what, a bocce ball or some
Bocce
crap
ball,
like
yeah.
that.
That was a bocce ball.
Hmm.
2 blows to the head with the bocce ball.
Well, in Footloose, they get in that fight, and then the guys that get beat up
You-
don't make it to the dance.
You have no room to talk about Footloose when you don't even agree with the remake. So no.
Rusty let Willard off the fucking leash and he handled his shit.
Yeah,
Circular.
he did.
Circular.
One thing I wanted to push back on, when Hilty was kind of, and whatever the time and everything was going on about George Floyd and stuff like that, and I get why they changed the ending, and that was weird because I had an option to watch the alternate ending version. I could only watch it if I bought it for $14.99, or I could watch the original one for free on Peacock. So that's what I did. But as far as at the very end, between the original version or the alternate version and this version, I don't think it had anything to do with him being black. If he was walking down that driveway and a cop would have pulled in and saw a guy covered in blood and a family murdered, he's getting arrested. Black,
Yeah.
white, Asian, whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
The cops would not be doing their job if they didn't arrest him. So,
Oh, you look like you didn't have anything to do with this. Why don't you just
Yeah.
kind of wander around there
Well,
and we'll investigate with you in the background?
what happened? Well, she hypnotized me and put me in the sunken place, and they were going to cut my brain out and put a white dude's. It's like, yeah, come with us.
Just like when Rod went to the cops and he was telling the story.
Yeah.
And she
Right,
brought the other 2 cops
exactly.
in just to laugh about it.
Well,
So
a couple things. One, this was released 3 years before the George Floyd incident happened.
Oh, so it wasn't that one. It was a
Okay.
different
So it
one.
wasn't
I
even
was going
that.
with what
It's
Tim
just,
said. Tim, you were wrong again. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I-
Yeah.
I was throwing a name out,
Tim's fault.
Thank
Everybody.
you, Aaron.
Tim's fault.
but I don't even know why I show up to this fucking thing. They didn't name who it was. He just said that one of them was out. I didn't catch the name, or they didn't have the name available there.
conveniently deflecting. Okay, that's fine. So
You
but-
show up
It,
because
it could have been
name
Malice
is
Green
in
from the
name of
Detroit
the
area,
movie.
is why he might have changed it.
Brian, do you have anything you'd like
why
to say?
the fuck am I the one getting muted when?
Oh, you're not the only one.
I was
You weren't the only
supporting you,
one.
Tim.
You were
Anyway, I'm
supporting
sorry.
him
Carry on.
until no, this is something that Jordan Peele talks about a lot in his works, is about just the poor treatment of Black people by the police. So yes, I do agree with you that in this case, or in any case, police walks up, there is a guy who has his head blown off. There is a woman with a Black guy on top of her choking her, and she's already shot. If the cop doesn't arrest him, yeah, like cops fucking up, not doing their
It's
job.
a good detain.
But
It's a good common sense detain right there.
yes, so I do concede that. I'm just saying that Jordan Peele does a lot of commentary with the police and their treatment of Black America.
Yeah, oh yeah. And another thing is, I'm pretty sure it's a Malcolm X speech quote interview. But what you guys were talking about earlier about the liberal white, he has a fairly famous quote about how dangerous, or even more dangerous, the liberal white is compared to the racist Southern white. Haven't looked it up, but I know it exists. I've heard it a couple times.
There was a phrase
So-
for it.
It's
The white savior trope. It's the
the-
white savior trope is what the phrase was for.
the white liberal is the worst enemy to America and the worst enemy to the black man. Let me first explain what I mean by the white liberal.
Were you fact checking me?
No, I
Yes.
wanted to hear the quote.
He's learning.
Lifelong learners.
Makes
Whole room
sense.
full of them.
Well, so here's the thing about that. Well, Hilty's digesting that. I like that this movie is out there with that point of view, whether you agree with it or not. It's sort of it's one of those situations where art gets to forward the conversation, right? Like people are going to land on both sides of that conversation. That's what we do. But the fact that you take a pretty good movie and then there's a little bit of a thinker aspect to it as well. I like that about movies. I like when there's something you can take away and chew on for a little while.
I like that about art. Like that's kind of what
Yeah.
it's supposed to be.
This is a very middle-aged white man group right here.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the screen and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brian muted himself.
Yeah. I was gonna say, we should all write down what we think Brian was about to say and compare notes with it later.
So this quote is pretty much saying that the reason why the white liberal is worse is because the white liberal goes in with good intentions, but then doesn't always back them up, and they can be sometimes just as detrimental by doing things either passive aggressively or doing things in the name of like trying to speak for black people. And
there's also the coddling point that never allows them to stand on their own and all that.
And he says the last part of this quote, 20 million black people in this country are a political pawn for an economic football, an economic pawn, a social football, a social pawn. That's how the liberal white person treats black people in this country.
According to Malcolm X.
According to Malcolm X.
Not the views of Mike Hilty.
We here at
Or
the
maybe-
BTB Movie
maybe
Club
the
would like to
views.
point out that we're just pointing out Jordan Peele's take on this particular issue.
Views
hope
of
none
this
of-
movie do not reflect the
Hope none of the 9 of you listening to this take that as our necessary opinions.
Okay, I think we can put a bow on Get Out.
So I informed Brian with 20 minutes worth of time to get ready to make his pick tonight that it is his pick. And fortunately, he already knew that. So, Brian, it's your pick, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon the hell out of this movie. What do you got for us?
So I recently did another podcast and thoroughly enjoyed it. It was on music soundtracks with Mike Hilty, and I'm gonna pick a movie that from there. We're gonna do The Crow, the original Crow with Brandon Lee. This was my connection is Daniel Kaluuya to Michael Wincott, who was in Nope. I don't have to do 6, Dan, but good for you.
Why not?
Because you don't have to. You just got to get there within 6.
Within
a
6.
maximum of 6.
Yeah.
So
I think you should do the whole 6.
I got there in 1. That'll do it for this episode of the BTB Movie Club podcast. Thank you, as always, for listening. We know we enjoyed ourselves, and we hope you did too. Have yourself a great week. We are partnered with the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.